And Scott, over to you.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. We made it to June 1st. We've been doing, this is our 24th session of CARES Updates Live Q&A, and this is brought to you by Northern California SBDC, Small Business Development Centers Network. This is our AskSBDC.com update, all for small businesses, and Northern California and the Finance Center. And we are all in this together. So hopefully you had a great May. We made it through April, made it through May, and now we're going through June. So we don't have a whole lot of new updates for you today. Might be a short call depending on how many questions you ask, because again, we're not sure what's going to become law this week that hasn't become law. And we're not sure what's going to change on PPP that hasn't already changed. And we are in the 7th week of the first funding of PPP, so we're getting really close to the first 8 weeks of actually knowing and having any example of what could or could not be. So again, we are Northern California SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. We cover the most 36 northern counties of the state. We go from the Oregon border down the coast to Santa Cruz. We cover all 9 counties of the Bay Area. The southeast is Stockton, then back up to the Nevada border and the Oregon border. And we are supported, meaning we are funded by SBA, Small Business Administration. They may or may not join us on this call today. And we're also funded by the state of California, the Economic Development Office, the Governor's Office, which is called GoBiz. So since we are federally funded and state funded, we come to you at no cost. There's no cost for us to talk with you, work with you, advise you, help you with your financials, and possibly help you start or grow, thrive, or sustain your business. We also offer webinars and workshops, educational workshops like this, also mostly at no cost. I'm from the Finance Center. I work for Northern California SBDC Network. I manage the Finance Center. My name is Scott Rogowski. I'm the director. I also have my associate director on the phone. Her name is Sunita Maharaj. She's going to answer some questions as I'm talking, and then we'll go to Q&A. We'll answer questions together. If SBA joins, then we'll all three answer questions, because sometimes questions become a little complex. The Finance Center, we are a team of 50 business lending expert advisors all across Northern California, the 36 counties I spoke about. And what we do is we specialize in nothing but helping you put together your financials, your business plan, your projections, your COVID plan, your resilience plan, whatever that new plan may or may not be. We're here to help you put that together, put your financials together, and put your story together, and introduce you to lenders so that you can get the capital that you need to start, grow, thrive, sustain, recover, or possibly buy a business. But and we offer this to you at no cost, and we are here for you for whatever you may need. Agenda, there's a quick disclaimer that we like to go over. We're going to talk a little bit about the Paycheck Protection Program. There is still money available for Paycheck Protection Program. There's this $10 billion for CDFIs that's available. Some smaller banks have access to it as well. There's probably somewhere between 80 and $100 billion of PPP money left over. If SBA joins, they may know the exact amount. We'll talk a little bit about the EIDL, talk about the state guarantee loans that may or may not be available, talk about how we're partnering with some attorneys, and then hopefully SBA will join. So the disclaimer is that things are changing all the time. This information was correct when we put the presentation together, but things are changing all the time. As I mentioned, there's still money available for PPP. We don't know how much, but around 80 to 100 billion. If you need help finding a lender, we're here for you at no cost. We have access to about 20 different lenders, direct lenders, or lending platforms that exist that can help you find a lender across the country for your, California business loan. The EIDL advance, some individuals are saying that they didn't know they received, it's kind of confusing. This EIDL advance, it just plops into your account, because when you apply, you give your routing number and account number, and they just do a direct deposit, just like a paycheck. It's called an ACH, automatic clearinghouse. It just shows up one day. It'll say SBA D on it. D is for disaster. So they're not going to text you, call you, email you, send a telegram. They're just not going to do that. They're just going to plop it in your account one day, and it's going to be there. We have a lot of business owners that call us and say, hey, I didn't see that. Where is it at? Where is it at? And we say, hey, just check your bank statement. Check your bank account. And oddly enough, we've had people say that with $1,000 and $9,000. They just didn't know it was there. So the way it works sequentially is you'll receive your EIDL advance before you receive your EIDL loan and your EIDL loan approval or decline. You'll receive the advance before you're supposed to. That's how it works. So please check your bank account. It should be there. If you applied for the EIDL before the web portal shut down, which was I think in the middle to end of April, SBA will get back to you. They're about 2 months behind from what I know from the dates that we hear about on these webinars and that we just hear from some of our clients. Meaning if you applied on the 1st of April, they're probably going to get back to you this week. They had about 30 million applications to go through nationally. In the state of California, I'm not sure how many. It's usually about 10 to 50% of that. So quite a few businesses to go through. So they're going to get back to you. You just need to be patient. We do not have access to check the status of your loan. We do have some SBA phone number and email that you can call and email with your loan number and find out potentially. Also, we're not privy to lenders coming forward for the Main Street, I think it's called Main Street loan programs. There's about 3 different loan programs depending on how big your loan is and how fast you want to pay it off. And there's a lot of information about it. Business owners like yourself are bringing it to us. We're finding it, our advisors are finding it. But at this moment, just like the SBA bridge loan, that we have not been, we're not given the information yet as who's doing these loans or who's not doing these loans in the state of California, let alone Northern California. But when we do find out, hopefully this week sometime, we will bring them to you either this Wednesday or Friday. There's also this resilience roadmap on our forward, solicitation to get you to come check out our forward newsletter that came out this morning to get you to join this call with us today. We talked about possibly ways to reopen your business. Well, it's different per city and per county, which most of you know. So we do have this website here that Alan could possibly copy and put into the chat. But it's the covid19.ca.gov/roadmap and what that tells you is kind of like the reopening info. They call it a resilience roadmap. So there's some information on that. We're not going to go into that detail. If you have questions about that, you can email us or call us and we'll help you one off because it is case by case. All right, so that's our disclaimer. Now we're going to go into PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program loan. Most of our slides today, just like Friday and Wednesday of last week, are on the PPP because it's the most prevalent loan that's still available where monies are accessible and you can apply, unlike EIDL. But the PPP is a 1% loan. It's 2 years. You get 6 months deferred payment. So that means you will have and a month, the interest will accrue from the time you get the money until 6 months. And then essentially, if you did not make a payment in the first 6 months, then you will have 18 months to pay it off. There's a universal form that you have to fill out before you go to the lender. We have access, the Treasury has access to that. We can get that for you. If you're a sole proprietor, it tells you kind of like what you need to look for. It'd be great if you had your 2019 Schedule C done. If you don't, it'd be great if you have it drafted. If you don't, then 2018 will work. But depending on how those numbers look to 19, it just maybe a little bit of discrepancy. But you do need to gather all your 1099s from 2019 so they can see how much you qualify for the loan and forgiveness. All our entities like C Corp, S Corp, LLC, partnership, B Corp, nonprofit, you need to gather all your W-2s and 941s or 940s for 2019. All of them. You gather all of them, not just half, but all of them. So the 8 weeks start the day you get funded, or if you are on a much more frequent payroll schedule, meaning you are bi-weekly or you pay every week, then you can actually start on your most recent payroll date. So for example, if you got funded today and your payroll date doesn't start till next Sunday, so a week from yesterday, then you can start that day, this Sunday coming up, which is June 7th, instead of June 1st. So you can choose depending on how the frequency is within your payroll. I know that's a very quick explanation of it. There's called the covered period and then the alternative covered period if you choose a different date. If you have questions, please email us or call us. What's forgivable? Well, there's a lot of great information that's come out. probably too much if you ask me and my team, but we're trying to go through it with you as fast as we can and understand it. We're working with CPAs and attorneys to try to figure it out, to tell you the best information, but is a very high level. 75 to 100% can be spent on payroll and potentially be 100% forgiven. 25% or less can be spent on utilities, rent, or interest mortgage payments. Not all interest debt payments, not cars and credit cards. All right, so when the feds launched the second tranche of PPP, they did not give it all to big banks. Big banks is anything that's over $2 billion in assets, which is most banks, but it did not give it to CDFIs, Certified Development Financial Institutions, which are independent. They're not banks, but they're independent, like micro lenders. So out of the 10 billion, they've already funded about 3.2. There's about 6.5 left. So, and we have access to these CDFIs. We can get you in contact with them to get these fundings. As mentioned earlier, the bigger banks may have run out of funds, or they just ran out of capacity to help you. So this second tranche was to help out low-income communities. They can have more access to PPP funds. And I mentioned, I should change this before, but like on Friday, there was 120 billion left. Now there's probably a little over 100. But Heather from SBA did join, so maybe she'll have an update when we get there. Yeah. All right. So what's included in payroll costs? We get this question a lot. It's salary, wages, tips. It's limited up to $100,000 for an annualized individual, like an employee or a sole prop. And it includes all the benefits, like, you know, healthcare, retirement premiums, all this stuff. Workman's comp is not included. Workman's comp is not included. You know, when we first started these a month or two ago, we were not sure, but it is not included, workman's comp. There's some state and local taxes that are assessed on compensation that can qualify, but federal taxes like FICA are not able to qualify for payroll costs. And then again, a sole proprietor, independent contractor, self-employed individual that has a 1099, the most you can, or 1099 or take some sort of draw that you pay yourself. Excuse me, the total that you can use as payroll costs is up to $100,000 for the year. What's not included, again, anything that's over $100,000, they're very clear on that. Payments to independent contractors. So you can't pay your independent contractors to have working with you for you because they get to apply all by themselves. So they're not allowed to double dip, as neither are you, but you cannot pay them with this money. And if you do, it will not be forgiven. And then some of the other stuff in here, if you have somebody that works with you outside the US, you cannot pay them. And then there's some family leave verbiage here for the law on what's qualified and what's not. All right, so what's forgivable? We kind of talked about this. So what's forgivable around payroll? These are the things. Eligible mortgage, interest. So if you have a loan on your building, that would count your monthly interest payment, not your principal. And then utilities, this is where we have a lot of discrepancies because there hasn't been extra guidance on it, but electricity, gas, that's usually like heater gas, water, transportation. We don't know what transportation means. We're not sure if it means fuel, freight, or all the above. Telephone and internet access. All right, so that's the kind of like what you can spend the money on, what you can't spend the money on, what's forgivable, what's not forgivable. Now we're going to go to some of the calculations. We've been over this probably over the last month or so, month and a half, last 6 weeks. We talked about this line 31 on a Schedule C divided by 12 times 2.5. That's your total loan amount. You take 31 divided by 52 weeks times by 8, and that's your total maximum forgivability. As an individual, sole proprietor, 1099 contractor, the max that you can get forgivable in the first 8 weeks of spending the money, which is, it's an 8 weeks forgivability period, is $15,385. If you have employees, that is also the max for them, as the max is 100 regardless if you're self-employed or an employee. Schedule K is those of you those of you on the call know if you're a Schedule K in person or not. It'll be on your taxes. If you have an LLC, partnerships, 1040, it'll say partnership as you move through the taxes. If you have trouble finding this number, let us know, or the box, or what it means. let us know. We specialize in reading tax forms. We're not tax accountants, CPAs, or attorneys, but we specialize in reading financials and helping you understand them and helping the lender understand them as well. All right, so that's PPP. A lot of stuff around PPP. EIDL is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. With EIDL, unless otherwise heard, today, this morning, is currently still open for agricultural businesses at this time. Also, if you applied before March 29th, which is when the web portal changed and your loan application starts with a number 2, or your loan app and loan number, kind of the same thing, starts with a number 2, then you also need to reapply. If you're not sure what that means, please email us and we'll help you, as we do have most of the answers. If not, we'll ask SBA. So the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, forgot to mention this about the PPP. The PPP does not require a personal guarantee. And the PPP money comes directly from lenders that you bank with or that are SBA 7A lenders. There's about 5,000 in the nation that are qualified to do PPP loans. The money comes from PPP, from the lenders to you, and then SBA will guarantee it. The EIDL loans come directly from SBA to you. No lenders are involved, directly from SBA to you. It's a 30-year loan. You do have to give a personal guarantee. It's 3.75% for for-profits, 2.75% for nonprofits. There is a 11 months deferment payment or payment deferral. And what that means is your first payment is due the first of the 12th month. And this loan is 100% unforgivable. The EIDL advance, we don't have a slide on it, but the EIDL advance, like I mentioned earlier, it just automatically goes into your account. That money is 100% forgivable. You do not have to pay it back. You don't have to necessarily report how you paid it or used it like the PPP to get it forgivable, but the EIDL advance, 100% forgivable. It's $1,000 for every employee, up to 10. So if you have 11 employees, you qualify for 10,000. If you have one employee or it's just you all by yourself, you qualify for 1,000. There's some extra forms that you may or may not need to fill out, which we have access to. We can help you fill them out. We can get them to you and help you process your paperwork with EIDL. All right, so kind of just briefly talked about it. What can you spend the EIDL on? A lot of questions around that. A lot of people are getting their EIDLs since SBA is now funding a lot more than they were about a month ago. So they're funding a lot more. People are asking, what can we use it on? What can't we use it on? Well, you can use it on these things right here. It's mostly to be used on operating expenses, whatever it would take to run and operate your business, meaning payroll, advertising, inventory, cost of goods, possibly interest payments. You are not able to refinance total debt. Can't pay a car off or pay a building off or pay a piece of equipment off. Well, you can make the monthly interest payments for that. Can't pay tax penalties off, none of that. It is a first come, first served basis. And the declaration date is January 31st. Really important to know that. You should have, you would have to had started your business before January 31st to actually qualify for EIDL. All right, so PPP, EIDL, now state guaranteed disaster loan options. We're in the state of California. Not sure how it works with other states, but we have a state guaranteed program. SBA is a federal guaranteed program. PPP is backed by SBA. There's California disaster loans, and they're backed by the state of California, which is called iBank. Infrastructure Bank is also under the Governor's Office of Economic Development, which is called GoBiz. And they work with everyday lenders, just like SBA does for PPP. The state works with everyday lenders that do the state loan guarantee program. If you do not qualify or you have been declined for PPP and EIDL, it's not and or, it's and. Is it you declined for both or you do not qualify for both? For those of you that would know that you do not qualify for both, you may not have a US ID. You may be a 501c6, like a chamber or something. If you don't have payroll, and then if you're delinquent on any federal loan, you have any federal loan liens, like a student loan that you forgot to pay back or another SBA loan that you were with another venture. If any of those four are you most likely don't qualify. The no payroll thing is a PPP thing. I just put it on there because it may or may not qualify you for EIDL or not. But those other three, non-US ID disqualifies you for both, 501c6 disqualifies you for both, and any federal lien you have disqualifies you for both. So you can apply for a state loan guarantee. If that is you, and you know that's you, or you have been declined for both, please reach out to us. If you're a small business, you can qualify for up to 50 grand. You go to ibank.ca.gov to find some lenders. If you're a larger business, and you want to qualify for $1 million, you can work with your local financial development corporations. We have 2 in Northern California in our footprint. We have one in Oakland called NorCal FDC. You can reach out to Chris Horton. He's one of our financial advisors, but here's his emails here. If you have any questions, if you're in Solano South, cover all 9 counties of the Bay Area, Santa Cruz, all that area, you can reach out to Chris. If you're Sacramento North or Yolo North to the Oregon border, you can email us at loans@asksbdc.com. There is a Sacramento FDC called California Capital, run by Debbie Miramoto. She's the CEO and her team. They do a great job working with business owners like yourself that are trying to access these funds that you may or may not know are available to you. But you can go ahead and email us at loans@asksbdc.com, and Sunita and I and our team will get you to the right person to help you figure that out. All right. So we've been partnering with some attorneys in the Bay Area, and they actually launched this office hours, pro bono office hours from 4 to 5:30 every Thursday. It doesn't cost anything. You can jump on there with us and this group called Case Force. And what they are doing is they have an EDD specialist, a payroll specialist. Like when I say specialist, like an EDD attorney, a payroll attorney, a real estate attorney, so that they can help you with lease negotiations and tell you what's possible, what's not possible. This is their call, and then we were invited as Northern California SBDC, but we are joining forces to be one team, and we're working together, and we're doing this weekly, and it's really awesome, and they can answer the questions that we can't answer around EDD, PUI, PUA, and all that stuff. But yeah, it's great partnership. All right, so we got to SBA. This is SBA's update. Really cool about SBA, what they're doing now is they are offering, if you get a new loan today, whether it be a 7A, which is either a startup loan, a working capital loan, equipment loan, could potentially be a building loan, but most times not, or a 504, which is large pieces of equipment and real estate, construction. If you get a loan now, with SBA, with a lender and the SBA's guaranteed loan, they will pay the payment, the principal and interest for the first 6 months, which is awesome and really exciting. So we ask that you take advantage of that. If you're not sure how to do that, we're here for you at no cost, and you can email us and talk to us, and we can help you with your business plan, projections, COVID plan, past COVID, a resilience plan, all that great stuff. Just whatever the lenders are looking for, we can help you organize, structure all your financials. Also, there's some contact info here. This is national level. You can email them, put your loan number in the subject line. You can also call them and talk to them about your status or what questions you have on reconsideration or denial, potentially. But yeah, I'm going to throw it over to Heather Lucy. She's the district director for the Sacramento office, SBDC, covers the northeastern part of the state. She's on the call. I'd like to throw it over to her, see if she has some updates for us. Heather?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much, Scott. I appreciate that update. Just kind of a little bit about where we're at with respect to the Paycheck Protection Program and the impact that these loans have had thus far. Currently, we are at 4,470,116 loans approved for over $510 billion. Average loan size is about 114,000, and we have participation from 5,513 lenders. And quite honestly, that's really astounding from the aspect of SBA as a whole. And typically, in any given year, we look at about on a total, both the 7A and 504 loan programs. And again, those numeric titles are simply part of the Small Business Act, so don't let that confuse you. But 7A and 504 typically on any given year are about $40 billion. So this is just a huge undertaking, not only from the agency, but from our lending partners. And again, in any given year, we have about 1,800 lenders approved across the country. So the fact that with the Paycheck Protection Program, we now have over 5,500 lenders throughout the country is really just a testament to the economic recovery that's needed for the businesses. And we're trying to pull all the stops and help any way we can. The Paycheck Protection Program has had a much bigger impact than the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, simply because of our lending partners deploying that program. And with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, that's actually a program that's done directly by SBA. And although we've had great success in that program as well, it's just a huge undertaking. We got over 5 million applications in that program. And for an agency that has about 2,000 people, it's really just overwhelming. So we're looking at hiring. We are looking at outsourcing. We are looking at every opportunity to try to get through those particular transactions. And with that said, currently in the economic injury disaster loans, we're at just about $38 billion, and about just a little less than 500,000 of those loans that have been approved. So that's kind of the update as I see it.
Thanks, Heather. Hey, the last numbers you gave us, is that the EIDL advance?
No, that's actually, I'm sorry, the regular EIDL. EIDL advance, let me pull those up and see where that's at. Give me just a moment. Go ahead and talk about something else, Scott, while I'm looking for this.
Okay, well, I actually think I misunderstood you with the first numbers you were giving. I thought that was EIDL, but I'm assuming that that's PPP, that they have done 515 billion, 4.3 million loans, average size 114, and 5513 lenders. I'm assuming that that's PPP.
Correct, that's PPP.
Okay, all right, cool. I got really excited that was EIDL. I was gonna say, wow, crushing it, EIDL.
Not quite yet.
All right, but you're getting there. Okay, all right, cool. So 38 billion. Okay, awesome. All right, good stuff. Okay, so we are going to we're going to get to Q&A. Heather's going to come back and let us know about that. Did want to let you know before we get to Q&A, we have a live chat line, 833 Ask SBDC, which is awesome. You can talk to a live person. If you leave a voicemail, we'll get you to a live person. We monitor that daily, hourly. You can go to AskSBDC.com and watch this webinar. Literally, you can watch it as it's going on. It's being live streamed thanks to our marketing team and Alan, our Zoom god. And then also we have, you can email us at loans@asksbdc.com. You can email us there. It's better if you call us, but you can also email us. We do our best to get to the email. We do get to it same day, just may be a lag after you email, 1 to 2 hours, but we recommend that you call us, please, right now. If you speak Spanish, or your parents speak Spanish and they would like to speak to somebody in Spanish, you could email us at espanol@asksbdc.com. You can also call us on the number and we will route you to somebody that speaks Spanish. We have a great team in Northern California out of the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce's office in Sacramento, but they cover all Northern California, and they do all these presentations that we're doing in English, in Spanish, and they can assist you. They have loan advisors and other business advisors that speak to you all in Spanish and coach you and train you. You can we can get you connected with Oscar Garcia and his team there, and they can assist you on that. All right, so we're going to go to Q&A, and the way Q&A works is we ask that you put it in the Q&A box instead of the chat box. And what we do is we just we read some live, we answer some in the queue automatically without reading them. We go back and forth with us and SBA. And then we are going to do our best to get through all of them. Looks like Sunita's already answered 16. We have 30 more. But usually what happens is, we always end up with over 100. But we'll do our best to get through all of them. I think Heather might have the update.
I do. Thank you so much. So the EIDL advance update, we're about 3.1 million loan advances. for just about $10.5 billion. So that is the EIDL advance, and that was the one where it was part of the CARES Act, and it is at $1,000 per employee up to a maximum of $10,000. So that's where we stand on that. And then I guess I would also just like to mention that California has been the largest recipient in all of these funding programs. The Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, as well as the EIDL Advance. California is by far the largest recipient. So I think that that's pretty telling as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Heather. Appreciate it. So now we'll get to the Q&A. So the Q&A, there's some questions I see on here around, has the percentage changed for PPP? And as of right now, it's not law, so the answer is no. Has it been extended from 8 weeks to 16 to 24 weeks? At this time, the answer is no, because it's not law. So those questions we do not have answers for, and we will not have answers for unless it actually becomes law. Just because it's being talked about and passed in the House and how it's going through the legislative queue, we do not have any control over that, and neither does SBA. So we are gonna do our best to answer these questions and jump right into them. So, since I understand there is legislator that passed, that changed the window for the 2 months to 6 months to use the money, it's 75 to 65. So the answer to that is currently no, it's not true. Not yet, but yeah.
Yeah, it passed the House. It still has to go through the Senate and then on to the President. So stay tuned.
Okay.
I think what's kind of telling about the pending legislation as well is that clearly everybody recognizes that the program has some shortfalls, and we're trying to correct those. My regional administrator would say that we're building the plane as we're flying it. So keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. So can you please address whether EIDL funds can be used for payroll after PPP loan period? So the simple answer is yes, it can be. You just can't, so you can't use EIDL and PPP both for payroll during the same period, but after the PPP period is over, which is 2.5 months, then yes, you could use the EIDL for payroll. I applied for the EIDL when the first round of PPP was gone, did a PPP in the second round, but just got an email saying that I was approved for an EIDL, but it says you can't use funds for the same purpose. Can I use the EIDL money to help with payroll after the 8 weeks? Yes, you can. You can do that. All right, this one I don't know the answer to. Maybe we could figure it out together. It says got PPP funds on 5/29, which is Friday. They're wondering if they can use that money to pay for 5/13 to 5/31 payroll, which is paid on 6/10.
My understanding is that we cannot. It has to be incurred and paid within that 8-week time frame. So if it was prior to the time that the funding occurred, I do not believe that there's been accommodations made for those types of issues, but I'm happy to look into that further.
Okay, thanks. All right. Sole proprietor, no employees received PPP and made the first transfer from business account to personal account. Do we need to keep record of where the money spent after transfer to personal account, e.g. family, dentist, doctor's expenses, etc.? Well, only if you want it forgivable. If you, actually no, yeah. You wouldn't necessarily have to, per se, track it after you transferred it from business to personal. You just have to track that part because that's your payroll. You don't have to track it after that because it's not, yeah, right?
You don't have to necessarily, but I don't think it's a bad practice, just in case if it does come up on where that money was spent. You know, I'm always on the safe side and keep as much documentation as possible, just because if anything ever were to come up, it's hard to go looking for things that happened 6 months ago. If you keep it all in a folder, if you need it or not, at least it's there.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, Sunita. I think that's a good practice.
Thanks. If I received the EIDL advance, but since have decided I do not need the loan, can I still get forgiveness for the advance? Do I need to apply for that forgiveness? So you still can get forgiveness regardless if you take the loan or not. Do you need to apply? The answer is no. But I would keep records, as Sunita and Heather mentioned, just in case, just for your records. It says we cannot use EIDL to pay tax penalties. What about just taxes in general? Like payroll taxes? Yeah, you probably could use it for, I don't think EIDL says you can and cannot use it for state or federal payroll taxes. You can't pay it to use, you can't use it to pay taxes in general. If you owe taxes at the end of the year.
Or delinquent taxes, but, you know, operating expenses, which would incorporate the state and federal taxes, should be eligible.
Okay. Says we were approved for EIDL 28,500. Do you have to justify how you use the funds, as they are not forgivable with the exception of the advance, as we will pay back the EIDL loan plus 3.75 in interest? So you don't necessarily have to track it per se to get it forgivable, because it's not forgivable, as you mentioned, but you should just have it tracked in your records just to have it tracked. But you do not necessarily need to per se. I got
for your own purposes, I would keep track of it, but other than that, no, there's no follow-up from SBA's perspective with respect to how those funds were allocated.
All right, thanks. All right. So I got my EIDL approved, but I did not get my advance. Where'd it go?
Sorry, I answered that.
Somebody must answer that. Okay, cool. Thank you. Forbes, May 31st, 2020 reports the new Treasury interim final rules of May 22nd, 2020 state for a PPP loan of any size, SBA may undertake a review at any time in SBA's discretion to determine if you have any other resources making the PPP to you inappropriate. Is there any real safe harbor for loans under 2 million? I mean, I'm just, so this is what's tricky, Heather, is when the Treasury launches something in communication on behalf of SBA and says something that SBA can just, come in there, may undertake a review of a loan and may say something about it not being forgiven. They're just asking if there's any safe harbors per se.
So with the safe harbors that were talked about within the IFRs or interim final rules, and keep in mind that there's been 15 of those at the present time, any SBA loan that is in excess of $2 million goes through an internal audit from SBA. That's just our common normal practice. So basically those interim final rules are reiterating that fact. And then just to kind of give you a little bit of background on that, it's just looking at the companies that had applied for and were approved for the Paycheck Protection Program loans initially that really had no business in receiving those loans. And that's why the safe harbor was created. And those businesses have paid back those loans, so they are no longer in jeopardy of us coming back after them. So it's just a precautionary measure. Honestly, it's, the LA Lakers applied for this. I'm sure you've all heard about the Shake Shack and Ruth's Chris and Planned Parenthood and a menagerie of other companies that really had no business in receiving these particular transactions. They are meant for small businesses and to assist during this pandemic. So don't let the audits concern you. Honestly, at any time, there could be an audit on an SBA loan. That's, regardless of whether it's, $50,000 or $5 million. And as long as you've got the proper documentation, there's really nothing to be concerned with. If you have further questions, you're welcome to give either my office or the San Francisco District Office a call, and we can walk you through all the parameters on that.
All right, thank you. Let's see here. I see one here that I don't know how to answer. Let's see, I have a, let's see, it's the one where it says, oh yeah, if I get the SBA EIDL loan and then sell my business, is this loan assumable for the new buyer? I think the answer is yes, right? As long as it's on the balance sheet, the answer is probably yes.
I believe that they are assumable to a qualified borrower, but I can double check that.
Oh, okay. All right. What if I received my EIDL but did not get my advance? So it's very rare that you'd receive your EIDL but not your advance. Like I mentioned before, you need to check your bank account, look all through your bank account. So Heather, I know that. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, sometimes that occurs when you applied for the EIDL. If you did not click the box that states that you were also applying for that advance, then you probably didn't get it. And that's typically the only reason that you wouldn't have gotten it, is that you did not click the box stating that you needed it. So you can always go back to the loan officer that's working on your transaction that you got the communication from approving your EIDL loan, and make that request for the advance.
Okay, thank you.
The second part, there's a second part to that question, and I was going to answer it, but I wanted everybody to know this because it's something that came out recently. It says, my wife and I take a withdraw, and they did not calculate our amount from the Schedule K. Can I reapply and get our proportion of the loan? If it's been after 15 days since you received those funds, then you cannot reapply per the new guidelines. But if it has been within the 15 days, then yes, you can contact your lender right away to see if they can include that in your loan amount, if you can get that additional amount. If it's been past the 15 days, you can always try to get unemployment for you and your wife.
Thanks, Cynthia. All right, so reporting requirements for an EIDL. What does SBA want to see in the terms of accounting? So you don't necessarily need to do that. SBA's probably not going to come back and check your accounting, but as you mentioned before, for your accounting purposes and your tax accountants or CPA's purpose, I would recommend that you just report, you do all your due diligence with, tracking the monies and how it's spent and all that good stuff, and being able to report on it, which would be good. Can you hire a contract person? Can you hire a contract person, a 1099 person to do work for you and use PPP when you get normal employees back off unemployment? Can we hire temps to do the work? You cannot. I don't think you can hire temps. You definitely can't hire 1099s.
They have to be an employee. So you have to be an employee of the company for you to be able to spend that PPP money. That question gets asked a lot. And you should definitely check because once you consider somebody an employee, then they're an employee. Flip them back to a 1099 because the question is going to be how are they now qualified as a 1099, but previously they're an employee, or vice versa. So you have to be very careful with that. We are going to have an HR lawyer on Friday. So maybe save that question and come back with that question again for Friday's Q&A.
It says, is there a time frame in which the EIDL loan proceeds need to be spent in case of an audit by SBA? I think the answer is no, right? Like they don't need to spend that money in a certain amount of time. They just need to pay it off in 30 years.
Yeah, just keep in mind that you've got a payment after the 11 months. So, I mean, you want to make sure that you're using those funds wisely.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm self-employed consultant, Schedule C. I'm starting to get some unemployment income I applied for in February. I've been declined for EIDL once, and I have reapplied. I have an outstanding PPP application too. Any problem with me accepting and repaying either loan? Do I accept the grant if it comes? I want to see what I can get first. Okay, so you applied for it. Okay, so you can actually get all three. You can get unemployment, PPP, and EIDL. You just can't use them all for the same thing, for the same purpose, for the same time period. And if you get the grant, which it's not a grant, it's an advance, but you do not have to pay it back. So you can spend that too if you get that. So it kind of depends on when you get it all. But if you get the PPP loan before you get unemployment, or vice versa. You can use unemployment, and then when you get PPP, you have to get off unemployment and use PPP for payroll. So you kind of just have to, kind of move around a little bit. If you have questions, you can ask us or email us or call us. We can help you. Are the SBA loan funds only available to use from the time of approval forward, or can you repay expenses incurred since you applied? Well, technically the EIDL loan and the PPP loan is for expenses that happen from the time that you get it to forward. Usually you're not supposed to go backwards, but yeah. For PPP forgiveness, there's 25% that you can use towards non-payroll. Can I use my payroll processing fees towards forgiveness of the 25? The answer is no. The other expense I have is updating my QuickBooks software for processing and bookkeeping, and the answer is no, you can't. They're very specific on that. I have my PPP in place and the $10,000 advance. It is not enough to open my business, to possibly reopen maybe. If I end up getting denied for further EIDL, what should I do with the money I have already received? Well, if you got the advance, you could use it for operating capital, regardless if it's enough for you to open. If you think you're not going to be able to open at all, then you, yeah, I'm not sure what you would do that money, but I put our information in there. A lot of these questions are case by case. Some are like for everyone, but some are case by case. So if it's case by case, I've been emailing you our information so you can reach out to us because we can help you better. Then that way, one-on-one, then we can help you on this call right now. Self-employed limited to $15,385. Does that apply only to draws for salary? Can utilities, mortgage, interest, etc. be added to that? So you know how Schedule C, divide it by the numbers and we get 15,385 as the max. Does that include payroll and everything, Sunita? Like that's 100%, that includes payroll and utilities and everything, or just payroll?
That's just payroll.
Okay, cool. So the other 25% is something else. Okay. Restaurant business is such a gamble right now. If a business accepts PPP and EIDL loan and then end up filing bankruptcy, how does this affect PPP and EIDL loans? Oh man. All right. So Heather can probably answer what it means if you file bankruptcy for the EIDL loan, because that's a SBA direct loan. But if you file bankruptcy with a PPP loan, regardless, well, there is no personal guarantee. So maybe I should have asked Heather how to answer both those questions. Because there's no personal guarantee. So how does that work for PPP and EIDL if you file bankruptcy?
Yeah, there's no personal guarantee for the SBA PPP transaction, but that doesn't negate that the lender may come after you if you file bankruptcy, you know, depending on the circumstances immediately after funding the loan. So just, you know, keep that in mind. With respect to the economic injury disaster loan, the loan is, again, directly through SBA, and you're liable for that loan until it is absolutely paid off. With respect to that, if there is a bankruptcy, it is not absolvable with that bankruptcy, and you will continue having to pay, just as if it were a student loan, same kind of premise behind that. And with respect to the loan getting referred, what happens is that it gets referred over to Treasury to a program called TOPS, and it's the Treasury Offset Payment System. And any tax return or any type of income that you would receive from the federal government would be diverted to pay off that debt.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Please discuss 32 hours per week versus 40 hours per week for PPP. All employees have been 32 hours per week for full time. How will this affect my forgiveness? So we don't really know. I mean, unless there's been further guidelines in the other extension of the original 11 pages, because I know there's another like 15 pages that came out. So we're not the beholder of what's a full-time employee, whether it's 32 or 40 hours. We were talking about it that it could be 32 before, but then the 11 page came out and the guide said it has to be 40 for full-time. So I don't really know how it affects forgiveness unless Sunita knows more at this time, but I think we're still all waiting for more guidance on that.
At this point in time, you have two ways to figure out your FTE. So that's your head count. So you could do it, the 40 or more is considered one, and anything less than that is considered a half. But then you can go the percentage wise as well. So your 32 would equal some, 0.75 of head count. If that's the head count that you had previously, then you're going to be okay. So if you had the 0.75 before when you applied or during those periods that they're allowed, then it's going to be the same. I know that sounds confusing. It is confusing. And I apologize for that, but it's just the way it's written on the application. If you need, for us to speak with you individually, we'd love to be able to do that. You can call 833-ASK-SBDC, because these are difficult questions to answer just with in this realm. So thank you.
Thanks. All right, so we have 36 minutes. We've answered 52. We have 15 left. We actually might get through all of them, but usually that jinxes us, so maybe not. So restaurant, business, huh? Oh, you think it's funny, huh? Okay, I'm glad you think it's funny, man.
I believe the term is tempting fate there, Scott.
Something like that, yeah. So restaurant business is such a gamble right now. If a business accepts PPP and EIDL loan and then end up, we talked about the bankruptcy, sorry, okay, cool. We have PPP funds as of 5/4, and we have 2 of our 6 employees that make over 100 grand per year. So we are limiting their salaries to the maximum. We want to know if we put higher amounts, or we are assuming above that amount, it will not be forgiven. The answer is yes. What can we do if we want to pay more? Do we do a separate payroll to keep finances clean? That's a great question, actually. I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, I think you can pay them more. You don't have to necessarily do a separate payroll, but the maximum that will be forgiven is going to be that 8 weeks and maxed out at 100,000. So I don't know that it's necessary to do a whole other payroll if you're going to be paying them more.
They'll just take the calculation when you do your application. That's your limitation, and so you're going to have to minus out everything else if you pay beyond that, and your forgiveness is only limited to that. So you don't have to have another account, because that will be really I think it'll be a lot of work for you to do. But if you feel that it isn't and you can do that, then it's up to you.
Okay. Says Heather, I have worked well for the.
I think you want to move on to the next one. I think that's for Heather specifically. I was going to send that to her.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. All right. So we were offered SB.
Because I got kicked off the live webinar, so I'm trying to get back in.
I'll send that to you via email.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We were offered SBA EIDL, then it got marked declined due to duplicate application numbers. I phoned in 4 times. Finally, a tier 2 person deactivated one application and said our original loan application is on underwriting. But when I log in today, both the applications say declined. Should I be worried, or is it a progress? Well, actually, I'm just going to email you. It's all case by case. We can actually help you navigate through this. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we can help you do that. So I'll just put our email. We're not going to solve it here on this webinar, but yeah, go ahead and email us. Can EIDL funds be used for payroll and business expenses incurred prior to funding? The answer is no. Has to be after funding, not incurred after or before. All right, we got some long questions here. All right. So when I applied for EIDL and PPP, I had 4 employees. Right now I have 2. One moved to LA and let me know he isn't coming back, and my young apprentice probably isn't either. Is that going to impact the forgiveness since I got an advance based on 4 employees? My part-time manager has moved up to full-time, so full-time percentage for payroll will be about the same, but how critical is it that it have the same number of employees going forward? Okay, so so if you had 4 employees before February 15th, you just have to try to get to 4 employees full-time by June 30th. If you're not able to, you need to document it. You maybe get a letter from this individual that moved to LA, and then yeah, you have to get back up to 4, or at least do your best to get back up to 4 full-time employees. If you can't do it, then you just need to document it. And that's also known as a safe harbor, that you tried, but it didn't work out.
But just for clarification, Scott, I think they were referring to EIDL and the advance versus the PPP.
Oh, okay. I might have missed that then on that one.
That's okay. So the PPP, that would be correct information. For the EIDL, again, document. And if it ever did come up, you need to have that information handy. But there's no recourse on that particular EIDL advance. So.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, I applied for the EIDL loan at 3/25/20, and my application starts with a 3. Yet I have received no further info yet. Am I in the queue, and how I'll be notified to move forward? Thanks. Well, if your loan starts number with a 3, then you should be okay, even though you applied before March 29th. So I would just say that you just need to be patient. Oops. All right, cool. I have a CARES PPP FDES NFF. I don't know what that is, but that's a weird loan. That's a lot of acronyms. So payroll costs, rent, utilities are forgivable. I wouldn't need to pay anything. Over what period? Loan ID only about 60 grand, and payroll will use. All right, cool. I'm going to email this gentleman, Franz Capero. Please just email us or call us. This is a very specific case-by-case question for you, and we can answer it, but best in an email or over the phone. Heather just said that payroll costs need to be paid and incurred during the 8-week covered period, but on the recently released guidelines, it states, or in general, payroll costs paid or incurred during the 8-week consecutive week, 56 days covered period are eligible for forgiveness. I take that to mean your normal payroll should be paid in the amount as usual to employees, even if it was incurred before the covered period, and then additionally work incurred in the end of the pay period and can be paid within or after the immediate next payroll, and the covered payroll prorated for the amount incurred with the covered period. Sounds like fun. All right, it's a great question, Darby. We'll have to, can you do me a favor, Cindy, can you copy and paste that and email it to me, please? Because there was, when it first came out, the 11 pages, it said paid and incurred. And then something came out later and said paid or incurred. But to Heather's comment about that one question, it doesn't, there's no like further guidelines. It just says, the only example it gives for the alternative covered payroll period is that if you got the money today and you pay on Sunday, that's 6 days. Well, the example that was given was they got the money on the 29th and they didn't have to pay until the 10th. So that would make me believe that that would not qualify, and Heather would be right, because it's past a week. Like you skip like a Sunday and then you skip like a Monday. It's too long of a period, but there hasn't been further forgiveness or guideline on that. But it does say specifically in there, we've talked to several people about this, including Noah Brode, who's been on all these calls with us. He said last time that if you're not a bi-weekly payroll structure or more frequent, like, every week, then you do not qualify for the alternative covered period. You have to, so in that case, that person may not qualify. I don't know. It's very specific questions. And we don't really have all the answers yet, because the ultimate guidelines where it's definitive, possibly law, has not come out to validate and confirm all those questions. Yeah. So I have PPP acceptance. I'm running into the problem of not being able to get my employees back. Many have found other jobs, and those who haven't don't want to return until their employment runs out. How am I able to use this money correctly in this situation? So again, you just need to do your best to get them back. If they don't want to come back, you need to report that. You need to document all that stuff, and then you can hire other people as long as they come back the same status that you had originally. So if you had full-time, you hire full-time. If they don't want to, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Scott, to interrupt. The other thing too to keep in mind is that you can require your employees to come back and put a pause on their unemployment. They can pick up that unemployment at any time. once that 8 weeks is done and you've completed paying them, hopefully you'll be back up and running by that time. But the employees need to realize that you, as the employer, actually control that unemployment insurance. And you can say at any time that you ask them to come back and their unemployment will be cut off. So keep that in mind.
Thank you. All right. So we are a USA company, 100%. We are US 100% owned by our parent company in China. Are we qualified for the EIDL? We already got the PPP. Well, regardless if you're qualified for the EIDL or not, you can't apply for the EIDL right now unless you're an agricultural business or you applied before March 29th and have a 2 as your application number. So, but if you were able to apply for EIDL, Heather, they're a USA company, but they're owned by a parent company in China. Do they qualify for EIDL if they were able to apply?
So under the EIDL, that would not be an eligible company. Under PPP, it is eligible, but under EIDL, it is not. It is United States-based companies, is my understanding.
Okay, thanks. Company file a PPP application for W-2 employees and receive loan. However, we got to put our Schedule C line 31 income into the loan request. Can we put in amounts for Schedule C line 31 last year income into the forgiveness application? I don't know.
Not the total amount for forgiveness. You would have to use the calculation that we provided to you. It's the 8 weeks, and then you're maxed out at the 15,358, I believe it is. So whatever that amount is, that's what you're maxed out on to pay yourself.
Okay, thank you. Regarding cutting off an employee's unemployment for declining a rehire offer, I see no way to notify EDD. I did ask our local SBDC and they don't know either. Is there a way to notify EDD?
You would have to go to the EDD website and see if there's any place to be able to do that.
There's a place for employers on there.
So it's edd.ca.gov. Here, I will put it in the chat. So that way everyone has it.
Thanks, Sunita.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Heather.
Sure.
Sunita, make sure you share it with all panelists and attendees, please.
Yes, done.
Yay.
If employees on UI come off of UI now, do they lose their extra $600 a month they were to get through 731? Well, my understanding is that they can like prolong that, right, Sunita? Like they can.
Yeah, we just kind of answered that. The 600, okay. You know, once if they do start back up, they may still be able to get qualified for that, but we don't have the specifics on that governing information. But a great place for them to look at is on the EDD website, which I placed on the chat.
Okay, cool. We received PPP loan on 4/23. Our semi-monthly, twice-month payroll starts 5/1. Can we use the alternative payroll 5/1, or do we have to stick with 4/23 as a start date? Again, let me see. Let me look at the calendar real quick and see when 4/23 is. 5/1. I would say no.
That's still very questionable.
That's very questionable. Yeah, we don't really know because it's a long time. It's, you know, if I look at a calendar, that's almost it's actually 2 weeks. So
the way it reads, you can, but the example is shorter. So, you know, if you're bi-weekly, then the way it reads, you can. The example does show a shorter time frame, but I know that Noah had asked. I answered this question as well last week. Hopefully we'll get more direction in the next few days or week or so. So we apologize that we don't have a definitive answer for you on that.
I have an employee that was scheduled to start work on 4/1. I have not needed employees for my business until 2020. Is my business eligible for PPP forgiveness since I had no employees last year? Well, it depends. Like if you had no employees last year, that's fine. Kind of. If you had employees from January 1st to February 15th of this year, you still may qualify for PPP. As a cash flow restaurant business, I have past due accounts that need to be paid in full and then cash on demand as I move forward. I also will owe a huge workman's comp payment as I open. Idle cannot be used to pay these. Well, they're not, idle's not technically supposed to be used to pay like past accounts. Supposed to be any, I mean, I don't think there's a.
The premise of EIDL is to get you back to a pre-disaster position. So from my perspective, if there is, things that are accruing during the time that you were closed, it would be a reasonable expectation that you would pay those to get back open. I think you could make a strong case for that. But we're happy to bring that to our disaster folks if you would like to follow up.
Okay, thank you. So look at that. We have 21 minutes left. We answered 78 questions and we have 0 questions. This is the first time this has happened with 24 sessions. It makes me really excited, like I should do a somersault or something. But what I think I'm going to do with the last 21 minutes is I think I would like to have everybody put in the chat, unless Alan says differently in the Q&A. Just put like what else you want on these webinars. What do you want from us? We sent out a survey, but we didn't get a lot of responses. So what do you want to know going forward? We pretty much have covered everything we can with PPP, EIDL, California State disaster loans. For those of you that are on the call that maybe want to reinvent yourself, close your business, relaunch, for those of you that want to start a business, buy a business, sell a business, or whatever you want to do, we're here for you at no cost. If you have anything outside of lending, you can go to your own local SBDC, which we have 20 in Northern California. And if you're not sure where those are located, you can go ahead and email us and call us. We can find the right one for you that is local to your place of business or where you live, depending if you work at home. But we do a lot of other things outside of lending. We can help you hire people. We can help you fire people. We can help you with your advertising strategy, whether it be digital or just traditional Facebook, social media. We can also help you with an e-commerce platform. We can help you if you are in the industry of manufacturing, whether it be restaurant. We have an amazing restaurant group that are currently doing reopening restaurant webinars right now, or how to survive. We specialize in agriculture. We have agricultural specialists. We have,
Scott, while this is going, and obviously you waited too long because we phoned a couple more questions have arrived, but I would like to throw in a quick a plug. We have one of our advisors, Paul Barzo, who does great work on helping cash flow management. He's running a webinar tomorrow on cash flow management, including sharing a tool that will help you with your cash flow management over projections over the next 12 months. So that if you have a look in the chat, there is a link to register for that. We'll get you on that. It should be about a 30-minute presentation with about 30 minutes after that for Q&A, and that's at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we have been getting some people put in here. So yeah, so we have somebody asked how to get advertisement help, and it depends on what you're talking about. It could be e-commerce, it could be just like traditional social media. So I'm gonna just send you we have experts. It says, does SBA loan need collateral? Well, the EIDL, if it's over 200 grand, they may ask for collateral. For a traditional SBA loan, 7A, you may or may not need collateral depending on the lender. If you have it, great, maybe not. Let's see, through West BizDev. I have a meeting this afternoon, blah, blah.
I think, Scott, that one looks like they're saying, they're asking, are there other services provided by you guys or by the local centers, of which?
So there are. We ask that you go to your local center if it's anything outside of lending, or if you want to go there for lending, that's totally cool. We don't compete with each other. We all are on the same team. We work together. Just the Finance Center has the most updated information regarding PPP and EIDL. But if it's outside of EIDL or PPP, yes, go to your local center. If they're not able to assist you, then please reach out to us and we will help you at no cost. And we'll work in conjunction, not in competition, but in conjunction with the other local center, as we're all on the same team. We're all in Northern California, and we all have all the same goals and everything. So, which is to help you as a small business owner. How likely is EIDL to be made available to food service businesses in the future? Best guess, date, we do not know. Currently only agricultural businesses at this time. Somebody says, must have missed their question. Can I hire temp employees or contract labor with PPP when regular employees, you can hire them, temp employees and contract labor. It just will probably not be forgiven. So
it's to bring, the PPP is to bring employees back. So they have to be an employee of yours to be forgiven. So I believe we did answer the question. Most likely it's not going to fall under the forgivable portion.
Okay, thanks. We are a seasonal tourist business and pay for expenses starting in April when we sell tickets for the coming season. Can we use EIDL to pay for upcoming expenses even if we are not able to reopen this year in order to reopen in 2021? So technically, yes, you can, because those are operating expenses that you have. And if you can't open this year, then yeah, I guess you could float it over to next year if you wanted to. It's, you know, it's whatever the operating expenses would be to run and operate, or, you know, kind of like, you know, survive your company during COVID. If I don't get further EIDL assistance and decide not to reopen, can the PPP and $10,000 advance just be returned? Well, I don't know if you can return the $10,000 advance. I'm sure you could, but it's 100% forgiven, so you don't necessarily need that. But if you do not reopen and you want to be a, you know, good person, I guess you can give it back. You can give the PPP back. You just have to write a big check and, you know, send it into your lender, and they'll take the money back. You might have to pay a little bit of interest on it depending on how long you've had it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure you can give back the advance too. But so we've answered 88 questions, and we have 15 minutes left, and this has never happened. So we as a team are trying to figure out the best things to bring to you as a network or as business owners. You know, whether you want to, those of you who have questions about how to start a business, how to grow, how to buy a building, how to buy a large piece of equipment, or how to just get A7A just to sustain if EIDL PPP either didn't work for you or was not enough for you and you just need help with lender connections, we can help with that. We just don't know what you would like to know or need to know, or what your wants are. And maybe Alan and our team will send out some sort of survey today and maybe get an answer, hopefully before Wednesday, as to what you do and would like to know, and how we can help you move forward and progress, as we are here for you at no cost. And we're ready and excited to help you. And yeah, and if there's
Scott, we're already working with the local center directors on that issue. So looking to see what the center directors are doing locally, because a lot of the reopening stuff is around what particular requirements there are in cities and counties. So some of that is local, but we're looking to see what we can bring out regionally that will be useful for everybody. And we'll be keeping our work on that.
And our HR lawyer will be on Friday. So just to let everybody know that. So if you have any HR specific questions, that'll be a great day to bring those.
Great.
So Friday at 10:30.
Thank you. And then also we have our e-commerce specialist. We have a new contract individual. His name is Shane Barker. He's going to start doing some, he's not going to be on this type webinar because it's not for everyone, but it's specific to communities. We're starting in Chico, and then we're going to go to Napa, Sonoma throughout the next month or 2 or 3. So any of you as a small business owner that has access to a local center and you'd like to see some sort of e-commerce webinar or workshop specific to digitizing the marketing of your business and how to, you know, take it from retail to the web, Shane Barker is going to do an excellent job working with our network to make that possible. So let's see here. It says focus on tourism sector would be useful. There are some special issues that will change reservation and pricing structure, and it's unpredictable. start date. Okay, so tourism, it's a really good industry that we should keep track of. So take some notes on that. But I think that's a wrap, unless all of you just want to hang out and see if anybody asks any more questions. But I think for once we can end early. So excited. It's a Monday. That never happens on a Monday.
So that's I think it's a good idea for us to stop the recording and end off there with the clean sheet and Q&A before anyone puts any more in. So thank you, Scott and Sunita. Thank you, Heather. Thanks, Dave, answering chat in the background. Good luck, everybody, and we will be here same bat time, same bat channel on Wednesday.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, you